Let's move on to main topic number 3. And our third main topic today gets submitted to us by Gareth Brownley, who writes, "Hey, John. I had the great pleasure of meeting you once at a meet and greet you did at Comic-Con with some of your crew." Oh, thank you so much, Gareth, for coming out to that. I appreciate that. It was the first Comic-Con I had attended and had a great time. I was planning on going to the one this year as well. Did you see Comic-Con is saying they're still planning on going ahead? What if no studios want to go? Is it still worth doing if none of the big Hall H personalities go this year? Thanks. All right. Thanks a lot for sending in that question, Gareth. And there are actually a couple of big things to talk about in that email that you sent in. We're going to get to the thing about should they move forward if the studios aren't there. That's secondary for now. But let's go over to this. Yes, Comic-Con has basically put out a statement that says, for now, they're still moving ahead with Comic-Con that comes in late July. Now, of course, we're at just at the beginning of April, May, June, July. It's at the end of July. So over, 3.5 months away. This thing is supposed to be, and they're saying they're still moving forward. This comes to us from the folks at Comic-Con who wrote the following. To our amazing Comic-Con and WonderCon fans, we understand how difficult the current climate has been for all of us and appreciate your continued support through these trying times. No one is as hopeful as we are that we will be able to celebrate San Diego Comic-Con 2020 together come July. As we continue to monitor the situation with local authorities, we will post updates on our social channels. Until then, remember, a hero is an ordinary individual who finds strength to persevere and endure in spite of overwhelming obstacles. And that, of course, is a quote from the great Christopher Reeve that he gave us. So basically, the basic message they gave and other things as well as this is that they are currently planning to move ahead. That means that right now, although they're doing it, practicing social distancing, their staff and their crew, and I know some of them, are currently still doing their jobs. They're still making schedules. They're still laying out floor plans. They're still coordinating with hotels. They are still doing everything they would do if Comic-Con was indeed 100% moving ahead. That's what they're doing right now. So there's that. But obviously they say we're still completely in conversation with the health officials and all that kind of stuff. And that could change. So we'll see what happens. I personally think it is the right thing to do right now to keep moving forward with preparations. I just think that makes sense. You keep moving forward with the preparations. There's no point in not doing the preparations and pulling the plug on it at this point. There's still a lot, Rob, you've pointed out yourself several times. We're going to find out a lot more in the next 4 weeks. The next 4 weeks are going to be very, very telling. That doesn't mean July will be open for business, doesn't mean it won't, but I don't see there being any need to not move forward with your preparations at this time. But they got to be ready to pull the plug. And that's the thing. And I think from their message, that's the message I'm hearing from them, is that they are being prepared to pull the plug if they need to. They're still talking to government officials. They're talking to health officials. And of course, come July, it might not even be their choice. Like if they're still in the state of California, hey, no gatherings of 10 or more people rule in effect, well, then they can't do it no matter what. But Rob, just for fun and just for the sake of the discussion, all right, let's for a moment assume that the government says, okay, be careful, be smart, but the limitations are lifted. Comic-Con can move forward if they wish, and they feel the government, state officials, health officials will say, okay, you're good to move forward, but, encourage your attendees to be smart. No big, massive public orgies or anything like that, but keep it smart. And so it's all clear. Let's assume that for a second, just for the sake of the discussion, okay? Let's say they are permitted to move forward, but they find out the studios are not going yet this year. The studios, TV networks, they just decide, you know what, we're going to play it safe for one more year and we're not going to go. Should Comic-Con still move forward if that's the case? And I would say an emphatic hell yes. Hell yes. And here's why. Some people may want to point out, understandably so, that John, the big Hall H events is one of the big things that happens there, and having the movie personalities there and blah, blah, blah. And you're not wrong. That's true. When you think Comic-Con, a lot of people think Hall H. I absolutely agree. But the reality is this. About 130 to 150,000 people, some people say it's a much higher number than that, go to San Diego every year for Comic-Con. Do you know how many people actually fit inside Hall H? Tops, 6,000. Tops. Yet under 5%, under 5% of the people who go to Comic-Con can ever actually step foot inside Hall H. I would contend and argue that the vast majority of people who go to Comic-Con don't go for Hall H. The vast majority of people who go to Comic-Con do not go there to go to the movie panels. Yes, they're a big deal, and a lot of people do. And they'll camp out overnight and all that kind of stuff. Yes, but they represent a finite number of the people who actually go to Comic-Con. Rob, I can't even tell you right now. I can't tell you off the top of my head how many years it's been since I stepped foot in Hall H. The majority of people go to Comic-Con for Comic-Con. They go to be surrounded by fellow fans. They go for the celebration. They go to see all the cool stuff laid out on the floor. They go to see everybody dressed up in cosplay. They go to see 100,000 or more of their fellow nerds and geeks geeking out with them and celebrating pop culture with them at the same time. Rob, I've often called Comic-Con, the main reason I go, it's a spiritual event for me. Because I say there's something good for the soul. There's something good for the soul when you're in an environment with 100,000 people and everybody's just happy and everybody's having a good time and everybody's celebrating. You look around at every face you see and you can tell this is something all these people have been planning for an entire year to be
at. Or many years.
Or many years to try to plan and save up. And maybe this year they got lucky and won a lottery and were able to win the hotel lottery and actually got a hotel room, which is still why they need to move San Diego or Comic-Con to Las Vegas. But that's another topic for another time. So yes, you move forward. If the go-ahead is given and if the health officials all say you can go and hold an event, if the studios don't go, unfortunate. But yeah, you don't let that stop you. And again, remember, we're talking here in a theoretical construct that the government and health authorities say, yeah, you're clear to go. It's okay to do it. If the studios still don't go, I say you still do it. Rob, two different questions here. What do you think about Comic-Con putting out their statement saying, hey, we're still moving forward with our planning right now, but we're going to keep an eye on the situation? And secondly, to the viewer's question, let's say everything is given the clear and go ahead and do it, but the studios don't go. Is that enough to pull the plug on it, or do you think you still move forward and do this event?
Well, I mean, so much of the attraction of Comic-Con is the fact that it's not just the studios, it's every TV show. The celebrity count at Comic-Con is huge. And then also, you're dealing with hundreds of thousands of people over the course of 4 days that pack into that convention center. And if we're totally rid of the disease and there's no chance of flare-ups or a second wave or something, I would say fine. But as everyone knows, Comic-Con, it's hot, it's San Diego, it's not exactly the most hygienical place in the world to begin with. But coming off of a pandemic, I think you have to err on the side of caution. And it really depends where we're at, but I just can't see. I think, look, Comic-Con takes a lot of planning, and they've been making the show better and better and better every year. And I just think that I just can't see it happening. But for them, it's like a gigantic, as far as conventions go, it's the Titanic of conventions. And if there is an iceberg, it's going to take them a long time to turn that ship around. So whether they're going to move it or scrub it, I mean, they take a huge hit economically, and so does the city of San Diego. So I think they want to hold on to hope they can keep this convention going as long as possible. But I think at some point we'll see where the nation goes. But in the next 30 days, they're going to have to make a call. And I think they're going to have to either move it, which I don't know if they can, or just scrub it for the year and eat the loss.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. In the next 30 days, they'll need to make a decision. If they do pull it, I think you can move it. Because, listen, the weather in San Diego is always moderate. I mean, it's great weather there. I think you try to move it, although it would be a logistical nightmare. But, Rob, let's get to the viewer's question, though. If, let's say, let's create a theoretical situation here where the health officials all say, you know what, you're clear to go ahead and have a conference like this end of July. but the studios decide to pull out for this year. What do you say if you're one of the organizers and one of the executives over at Comic-Con? What do you do in a situation like that? Do you move forward or do you pull the plug?
Well, look, if they're going to move forward and they think it's okay, I think the studios are in a position where they need to generate as much excitement for their product as possible. And Comic-Con is a way to flood, as you know, everything the studios roll out at Comic-Con. There's 100,000 stories on the web. It's the best free publicity now in our age of social media that I mean, you bring out Tom Cruise has already gone to Comic-Con to promote Top Gun. Top Gun will be done. They can show maybe a 20-minute reel. Hell, they could show the movie. Well, I talk about generating. If they love this movie, who wouldn't want to see the very first show, the world premiere of Top Gun in San Diego at Comic-Con, out on that beach, where they can show movies? Tom, they turn it into a worldwide event. The studios would be foolish not to go and launch all the movies that they passed up, because Justice for Han is done. Top Gun is done. A Quiet Place 2 is done. And can you imagine? I mean, they could use this as a platform to let's get people going back to the movies. Let's get people excited about the movie theater experience again. They would be foolish not to utilize this as a great PR move.
I agree. Question here is, guys, for you. Let's say, argument's sake, it's a total theoretical, but let's say we get to July, health officials say, hey, you're clear to move ahead, but the studios decide not to go. If you're Comic-Con, do you still move ahead without the studios? Or do you say, hey, without them, we've lost our main appeal? What do you do there? It's an interesting thought. And also, what do you think about the fact that they're still moving ahead with preparations at this point? Jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right.